All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS live video. Got the Sanderson Farms Championship. Should be a pretty fun one we got this week. It's definitely interesting. I already talked about it on the core plays video, but you can really make any lineup you guys want to work this week. It's definitely interesting. So, any support for your former boy, Nick Taylor? I already got the question from Infamous coming in. So, yeah, let me pull him up here on the stat sheet. So, Nick Taylor, I do like as a play this week. We'll pull him up. So, the problem with early season DFS is that the stats aren't all there. That's the biggest problem, and that's what we got with Nick Taylor. So, because he's only played 2 events so far, he doesn't have all of his stat categories filled just yet. But we know who Nick Taylor is as a player. He's typically a good total driver, ball striker, decent putter last year especially. I actually do like him as a play this week. He had a miscut here last year, but before that, absolutely great course history. I know he won it forget which year. Like, the data is not significant to that because it wasn't in the last 4 years, but still something to note, especially given the fact that he had a 26 finish here in 2018, then a 23 finish here in 2016. So I don't mind him as a play. You can definitely go out and play him if that's the route that you want to go. There's a bunch of good players in that range, so definitely up to you with that approach. I will say, just to talk about some of the builds here, so it's interesting because you can really make anything work. I already talked about that. Interesting part about Scotty Scheffler is he doesn't seem to be talked up enough. A lot of people are worried about him not practicing with the virus, which, yes, that might be a little bit worrisome that he wasn't able to go out and practice that much, but still, best player in the field by far. Obviously had that great recent form, so you can easily fit him into the build and then go all the way down to the value side and fit in a ton of great values. Now, I do want to kind of talk about the values just in general here, so got David Hearn down there, who I do like as a value play, really cheap. But Austin Cook is kind of the play that I want to talk about a little bit more. I know I talked about on the core plays video slightly, but yes, his starts have not been great. Barely making the cut and then barely producing. But he has been making the cut. And I think there's always something to say about that, especially at this price point. It's a play that I really don't mind at that price point. For a guy that should be right around the cut line at that low of a price point, it's okay, but like I said, we got David Hearn down there. He's going to be a good play. I know my boy Matt Naismith's down there. I'm not going to be on him that much this week. He did go under par at the Northern Trust and at the Safeway. Came out and made the cut last week. I will say, if you guys want to play him, only play him in like the first round showdown. He typically does well in the first round, so that'd be the route that I'd go if you guys wanted to play him. So, but like I said, Scotty Scheffler in there, you could really make anything work. I know Adam Shanks can be very popular, as he should be. He's been a cut maker, so it's up to you guys if you guys want to play him or not. I probably will, a decent amount. Davis Riley is a guy that has been getting a lot of chatter as well. That's the interesting play right there. Made the cut at the RSM Classic. Made the cut last year here at this event, T39. He has been playing a lot better golf on that Corn Ferry Tour. Really intriguing price point. I typically want to see it first from a player, especially when there's that good of quality value plays around him as well. Now, if he was like the only good value play, we could play him. I just don't see the point of it. And then, let's see here. JJ Spawn I do want to talk about as well. Because if this becomes like a strokes gain tee to green, he's actually strokes gain tee to green event, which we've seen these harder to hit fairways kind of become that recently. He actually has been decent at that recently. Made 3 out of his last 4 cuts. Still shot under par at the Wyndham Championship. Don't mind him as a play this week. He's a decent value there as well. There's just a ton of value. And you guys don't even have to dip into the value range this week to make a good build with Scotty Scheffler. I mean, Ventura is really priced down for some reason this week. Cameron Piercy, I know I talked about him in the core plays video. And then Infamous is bringing up Cameron Tringale here. Good price point for him as well. Yes, he missed the cut at the Safeway Open. -3 though. That's not bad. Okay. Just wasn't enough to make the cut. It's one thing if a golfer plays bad and misses the cut, but it's another thing if they play well and just barely miss the cut. So I'll pull them up here on the stat sheet as well. All right. So yeah, ranks 13th in the model, 16th overall finish here last year, 2 made cuts the year before that. Been really good in total driving, ball striking. He's not popping in the stats where you want him to this week, but he's just typically a good cut maker. So I don't mind him at that price point. There's a lot of good plays this week. And it's kind of weird because normally these events are a little bit harder to predict because the players aren't playing that good at golf normally, and that is true somewhat. There's a lot of easy stayaways, but there's a lot of quality plays as well. Like there's just not enough differentiation between the price points where you can make an argument for one player at that price point, you can make another argument for another player at that price point. I already mentioned Ventura at the same price point. You know, it's just interesting the fact that Tringale is right there, Ventura just been a cut maker. I don't really get that. And then just talking about Cameron Piercy again, don't really get why he's at that price point either. And is anyone else, are they thinking about doing a Cameron lineup? Because you really could. Cameron Davis, look at that. They're all top 20 stat fits. Is that just the thing this week? It could be. It really could be. Cameron Davis, top 11. Cameron Tringale, 21st, ranks top 20 in the model. And then Cameron Piercy as well. That's kind of crazy. I didn't even realize that at first. That is absolutely crazy. You really can. I'm going to throw that in there now. Just that's going to be a fun one to put out there. And then, yeah, Infamous brings up a good point about Mark Hubbard. Like, that's a guy that we were playing a ton at the end of the year last year, and he was producing for us. We played him a lot, actually, last few months. The problem with him is not playing good golf right now. That's the biggest problem. Horrible stat fit recently. Miscut here last year. We know that it was a career year for him last year, though. I couldn't get to it this week, but if you ended up doing that, I would get it. That's just not for me this week. Will say, though, there are some bets that were kind of popping. They have changed a little bit as the week went on, but I'll get into some of those bets right now. So we'll get into it. So just looking at Sam Burns, he was 25-1 earlier, 23-1 right now. I think he's by far the best play this week across the board on DraftKings, given his price point. His odds aren't as good, though, so it's iffy. Cameron Davis, his odds have gotten a lot worse. They've gotten lowered recently, so the Cameron DFS chef has the Cameron trifecta. I'm throwing it in there just for the fun of it, and it's also going to be a good lineup. So that'd be great if that was the winning lineup, had those three in there. That'd be awesome. What's with Bud Colley? I'm looking at Bud Colley just in general for the outrights. Did he withdraw or something? Because I'm not seeing a top 5 or top 10 numbers for him. That's weird. I've never seen that before. Interesting. But, Charlie Hoffman, I think that this is going to be a year where he comes back. We see some of these players that are kind of veterans have like an off year, and then they come back and play well. I kind of see that happening with Charlie Hoffman. He's 70-1 this week, so I don't mind that. He's a guy where if he goes on and wins, it really wouldn't shock us at all. And then just going really low. So Adam Schenk, 70-1, and he's a value play. That just doesn't make any sense at all. So, I'd much rather play him on DraftKings, and this is a weird week where you really can differentiate between your sportsbook and your DK lineup, where normally you should just kind of play your, top 10 favorite picks. This week's a little bit different because, okay, so Bud Colley did withdraw. I was going to say that doesn't make any sense, but this is a week where the sportsbook and, the DK pricing is so different that some of it just doesn't make sense. So, on a normal week, Shank would be probably 125-1 as a value play on the DFS side. He's 70-1. That's crazy. I don't really want to do that. He's just if you're going to bet him, just lock him into your DFS build instead. Kind of same thing for Ventura, a guy that we were really on last week and kind of quietly the last 2 weeks we're on him at the U.S. Open as well. Really great golf recently, 75-1. I don't mind that, but once again, I'd rather just play him on the DFS side of it. Now, it's Cameron Piercy here at 90-1, where he's just checking all the boxes. That is really appealing to me. Really strong, deep shot bet there for you. And then going lower, I'm not going to play Troy Merritt in DFS. Everyone knows the Troy Merritt love. I'm not going to play him in DFS. But, if you're thinking about playing Nick Taylor in DFS, this is where I'd much rather just bet him outright. If he shows up and has, some good golf going, he could easily go on and win this and it wouldn't surprise anyone. So he's one that I'd much rather bet than playing a DFS build. But I get it. I just don't get how Nick Taylor is 125-1 when Adam Schenk is 70-1, and you just look at their price points on DraftKings and they're the complete opposite of that. It just doesn't really line up. Then we're going to go lower here. So, David Hearn, I don't know. It's been weird. So, Stuart Sink won, Hudson Swafford won. so far. Jim Herman a few months ago now. Like, if David Hearn goes on and win, it's really just not going to be shocking. A guy that kind of, you wouldn't expect him to win, so you don't really talk about him that much, but kind of expect him to make the cut. He's been playing some good golf. So it's like, oh, David Hearn won? I don't see it happening, but just based on the recent winners, it'd be not surprising at all. Where is Spawn? I'm trying to find Spawn. I already mentioned him in the value side, but JJ Spawn, need to pop him up. There he is, 200 to 1. I'll bring him up here on the stat sheet as well, just because it's just an interesting play to me. So let me pull him up on the stat sheet. I just want to talk about it one more time. All right, so as you guys can see, doesn't really grade out the best. 45th on the mile ranking. But he's made the last 2 cuts. He's strong in stroke gain approach, decent in birdie to bogey ratio, good in ball striking. 36th finish here last year, 34th in 2017. It's a guy that's been hitting the golf ball well, in a lower caliber field. He's made the last 2 cuts. I don't mind it at 200 to 1. It's like I'd rather risk it for like an outright bet. Maybe you guys could go out and cash early. That would be one that I like a little bit more just in general for an outright. But there's just so much value across the board this week. It's going to be one that I'm attacking in so many various ways, lineup approach-wise, where I typically don't. My typical strategy, as most of you guys know, is to make one main build and kind of make slight adjustments here and there to kind of expand so I can get my whole player pool. This week is kind of, I'm just firing at the hip with all the players that I like, trying to, it's not random because I'm doing it by hand, but I'm kind of using a random generator. Any bets for Wesley Bryant? Yeah, that's a good question. That's another one of those plays this week where it's just a solid play. And no, not for me. I don't see the point of betting that. I mean, if we go back to the betting side, we'll just do that real quick. Because really, I think it is going to come down to I'll pull it up. I think it's going to come down to Scheffler. And I don't know about Zalatoris. Not sure about that. But Burns, Redmond, realistically, if those 4 are playing at their, top capable golf, one of those 4 should win. Where if someone else is playing their best golf and one of those 4 are playing their best golf, one of those 4 should win, in all honesty. And then we could go to Cameron Davis. Now, this has been a problem of mine recently. It's that when the odds get worse throughout the week, I just don't feel like outright betting them. It's one of the weirdest things. It's like a mental block for me. So Davis and Patrick Rogers, they're kind of the 2 that stand out for me with that. But still, they're not bad bets. Then Denny McCarthy, I don't see him with the winning upside. I see him with a lot of upside to go on and make the cut. And that's the worry there. And then after that, like I said, Charlie Hoffman, I think he has winning upside, decent play. So really, it's the guys on the top 4 end, and then it's just trying to find some value bets that could go out and win. Obviously not as likely, but could possibly happen. And Cameron Piercy, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if they're if this is the DK trap this week. It kind of feels like it is. It could be. I already mentioned it. The last 3 weeks, DK has trapped us into a play just because they're I don't know. I really don't get it. Mark Hubbard was it Mark Hubbard 3 weeks ago? No, I forget. I don't know, but it's Terrell Hatton, and then it was Will Gordon last week. Will Gordon, everyone was on him. He was 50% owned. It's just because he was underpriced with his upside. He should have been able to play well at that course, and he just didn't. Terrell Hatton at the U.S. Open at his price point was just too appealing as well. Didn't pan out, but it's kind of weird because the other plays that were value plays that were underpriced have been doing well and making the cut. Just kind of weird. Will I go back to Will Gordon again? No, not going back to Will Gordon this week. I kind of need to see it first with him. Not worth the risk. What's up, Champ Grind? Doing well, man. How about you? It's been a pretty nice week. Weather's getting a little bit colder here, but oh well. It's kind of nice. The fall weather's kind of a little bit nice. It's a little refreshing. You can never have too much Harris English. That is true. But how much too much Brian Harman? Brian Harman was my guy like 3 years ago. I don't know. See, I've always had a special spot for Brian Harman just because John Deere Classic is one of the closest tournaments to me. And I went to the event that he won it. I forget how long ago that was, probably like 8 years ago now, but always a little special spot for me. I'll pull him up on the stat sheet here and see what we're seeing with Brian Harman. I get it. This is one of those plays for me where I just couldn't pay that much for him, in all honesty. It's one of those where, are you looking at long-term data or this season data? And I hate that we have to do that, but also I do think that mentally, a lot of the golfers do restart mentally. I know I would if I was them, so let me pull them up. 14 through last year, 6 straight May cuts in a row, really was showing that upside. So if we do look at, I don't know, the full picture, he would be a better play. I just don't like paying up for him at that price point. Sure, strong in strokes gained total, strong in total putting, which I think putting is going to be a key factor. Decent in par 5 scoring as well. I don't mind that. It's just the way he's been hitting the ball recently that worries me for this price point. I would just rather risk it with Doc Redman, in all honesty, a little bit lower down. And I know what you're probably ending up with is that you're ending up in that price point range a lot too there, Chef, which I have too, where you can't get up to Redman and you can't get up to Burns. So you're like stuck at Zach Johnson, Adam Long, Harman, Fratelli, Connors, Chez, maybe List, and not feeling that great about it. So I get it. Like, for me, I think I'd rather go Chez, to be honest with you, or Luke List, but like Harman should make the cut, Long should make the cut. I definitely get it. I hope you win again this week, champ. That was a nice win on Yahoo. Yahoo was kind of crazy. I did have 6 for 6 on Yahoo as well. It's kind of weird how, like, really, I say it a lot, but lineup path really is the deciding point. Sometimes it's not even the players that we're on. It's more or less the lineup path on a given site, like FanDuel. Sometimes your lineup path's different there. DraftKings, sometimes it's different there. Yahoo, obviously, sometimes it's different there. And like last week, the lineup path was kind of easier on Yahoo, where it just led you to 6 for 6, and obviously Champ Grind was able to have a good week. Do you trust Sanjay to make the cut? I do. Definitely worrisome, but it does look like he found something last year. Or at the end of the year last year, 11th, 22nd. Haven't seen him in a while, which is kind of rare for Sanjay, so I think he went out and was able to figure things out. And, I remember at the Northern Trust, I was kind of hanging my hat on that 67 that he had. Came out, played kind of horrible at the BMW Championship, and then it did turn out that he did figure something out. So I like him as a play, good stat fit. Yeah, this week classified as a putting fest. See, it is, but you also got to get to the green too. I don't know. It's very, like, you just got to play good golf. It sounds stupid, but you just got to play good golf at this course, and you're going to play well. Like, sure, you want to hit your fairways, but if you're a little bit off the fairway, that's fine. And then you got to hit greens, make putts. It's kind of as simple as that. It's not overly whelming. I mean, let me try to pull up the picture of the course again. I mean, look at this. Let's move the Sanderson Farms logo. Look at that course. That is nothing. You're hitting over a water, and that you're just hitting into a green and trying to make the putt. That's like a normal course. That's a course I could go out and bogey each hole. So pros should be able to at least make some birdies on it. For Scotty Scheffler, am I worried about his rust at all? No, I know some people were talking about that. Really? It's tough. Like, I don't know who he is as a person. Really, it comes down to that, because I know personally for me, I didn't play golf for 3 weeks, and then I went out and shot 200 par on the front nine, and then obviously on the back nine I exploded. But it was really my best round of the year on the front nine after not playing for 3 weeks. Maybe he's that kind of guy where he kind of, hey, the mental break, the muscle memory comes back, and he fires off some great rounds. We see that all the time. And he's a guy that was really go out and playing some really good golf too. So I would suggest and think that he's going to go out and play well. It's just hard to believe that he would fall off that much. He's not a guy that needed the practice, per se, is what I'm trying to say. He had good vibes before the virus. He should have good vibes going now that he's clear from it. You have? That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, Chef has been on the course, so that's pretty darn awesome. But yeah, I'm going to be wrapping up here, guys. So if you don't have any more questions or comments, I'll be getting out of here soon. It was kind of a quicker one, kind of an easier week. I don't know. It's fun. I think I'm going to attack this one pretty aggressively. Might have to max enter it on GPP side, which I don't want to do, but I feel like it's going to be a low 6 or 6 week, high 5 out of 6. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. What's up, Brian? How you doing? Got the chat feature going on the live stream too, in case you guys can't see that. So kind of fun. But I'll be wrapping up here if you guys have any questions. So if you do get those in, if not, be wrapping up here in about a minute or so. How far can I drive the ball? Champ grind. So I don't. It's weird. The courses I play either have like soft fairways or hard fairways, or not the tour fairways. I would say probably 270, 280. Although, like I talked about it earlier, my front nine, the last time I went out, I swear I hit a drive 350 on a par 5. Now, wind on my back, downhill, hard fairway. So, nothing too crazy. But I had like a freaking, what was it? A 52 into a par 5, which is kind of crazy. Thanks, DFS Chef. It depends how I'm driving. If I'm driving it straight, sure. If not, I don't know. Davis Riley, I'll talk about him real quick. So Davis Riley, if you want to play him, you can. It's a little bit too risky for me. I don't like playing those unknowns, especially with the players that are around him. So I get it. Miscut at the U.S. Open, didn't play well there. RSM Classic, didn't play well there. Still made the cut. Made the cut here last year, so I get that too. The problem with Davis Riley is that if we're in his price point range, there's better plays in his price point range value-wise. Now, sure, they might not have the winning upside, but that's really not the focus. The focus in the value tier is focusing on most likely to make the cut. And I think someone like Shank provides that. JJ Spawn, I like him. Whaley, I know Chef is in here. He brought him up last week on the live stream. I like him to make the cut. Oppenheim, I like to make the cut. There's just a lot of better, more known factors in the value range than Davis, but you can play him if you want. I think he'd be a little bit more popular than he should be this week. Kyle Stanley, yeah, I like him as a play. Didn't have too much of him, but he was decent. Let me pull up Lahari. Lahari did pop for me a little bit too. The problem with this week is that at each price point range, it was hard to really be stern about a take or about a player because honestly, they're all pretty much the same this week, given the pricing. DK did a pretty good job at that. Now, sure, like Ventura and Piercy were standout plays at their given price point range, but still, there's great plays in the 8K range. There's great plays in the 7K range. There's great plays in the value range. Like I said, you could really make any lineup work this week. Let's see here. So, Lahari. So, yeah, T36 here T36 at the Safeway Open. Good finish there. T6 at the Putacana Corrales Championship. I don't mind him as a play, decent value play. I think it's a nice pivot as well from like Shank, who's going to be chalky, from Riley, who's probably going to be a little bit more popular than he should be. So, hey, golf is a great game there, Champ Grime, where you really just have to have like one get hit every some odd hole, like every 8 hits or so, and it keeps you coming back. So honestly, whatever makes that work, it does. I'd much rather be able to hit the ball straight than what I've been doing with the driver. Yeah, see, that's the problem. I feel like Riley's been getting talked up a decent amount as well. I will say, yeah, he probably would be a good pivot from Shank as well, but I don't think like JJ Spawn's going to be that popular. I know it's a little bit risky to make the cut. I don't think Kyle Stanley's going to be that popular. I think Kyle Stanley holds a ton of upside. I don't think Oppenheim Whaley's going to be popular as well. So kind of just rather, if you're trying to like gain some ownership leverage, go that route. Although it is the value tier, it shouldn't be that crazy in general. So kind of whichever approach you want to go with there. I know I keep saying it, but really, you can really make any lineup you want work. Smoking Guns. Been a while. What's up, man? Good to have Smoking Guns back. All right, so I've said it like 12 times on this, but what I mean by you can make anything work, I'll just make a build real quick with the top 2 prize players. So Scheffler, we'll put him in there just for the fun of it. And I'm not saying you guys should play this. It's definitely highly risky because you are going to the value tier, but I do think someone like Hearn will make the cut. So right here, maybe 3 make cuts with upside of 2 top 10s. Then Whaley, I think he is going to make the cut. I think he's safer to make the cut. Then you go with Shank. Boom. You got 85 left over. 8.5 left over. You could go with Cameron Davis. You could go with Patrick Rogers. You could really make a ton of lineups work with the strong confidence of at least getting 4 out of 6 with the upside again 6 out of 6. So who's your favorite play to start with this week? It's definitely Sam Burns for me this week for sure. Sam Burns is kind of my starting point. I think he's the safest play with the most upside. He's casually almost checking all the boxes. I know he's not checking all the boxes because he did have that recent miscut at the Northern Trust, but before that week he had a T13. So T28 last week, T7 the week before that, miscut, T13. So technically not checking all the boxes, but he really is. So who is my fade of the week? I never really have like strong fades. It's more or less I just go off of the players who I think are more likely to make the cut. I am worried that some of the players I am are trap plays, but just of the pricing, but that's pretty much it. DK did a great job pricing. I'll just put it that way. Probably the best job they'll do all year because it's very logical, the pricing that they did. Like Sebastian Munoz as price point. If he was 9,000, I'd probably be on him a little bit more than I am. But at almost 10,000, hard to pay up for that. But like you got to think about it. Carlos Ortiz, great course history here. Hard to pay up for him though. But if you do it, it makes sense. And that's kind of just the whole pricing tier this week. So DraftKings, best job they've done all year, where there's not like 5 like totally mispriced plays. There's about like 20 really quality plays, and you kind of figure out who you want to be on this week. So that's kind of the problem. Yeah, if you're worried about Scotty, you could easily just go down to Sanjay. You could go down to Zalatoris. You could go with Sam Burns, Redmond. You know, I get it. But really, it's like, are we that worried about Scotty at his price point when you got Sanjay in there as well, who, yeah, he played better recently, but like, are we really, like, it's kind of, I would say they're equally as risky. Same thing for like Ben Ann, Sam Burns, Doc Redmond. Like, they're all kind of just as risky. So what do I think about Stenson? That's a good question. I'll pull him up here. I am not on him this week. Once again, my player pool is probably the biggest it's been in about 4 months because there's just a lot of alike plays this week. But I get it. He came out and played well at the Corrales. Once again, I said earlier that I think players, when a new season starts, they kind of turn over a page in their head mentally. It's just like, all right, new season, let's get after it. Now this year it's a little bit differently. Mindset, just with how short the offseason was for a lot of these guys. Especially like Stenson, he really does need to play in these early events, and he needs to play well at these ones. And I think he will. The price point isn't too bad. And going back to what I just said, DraftKings did a great job pricing, where if he was 9.5, heck, no, we won't be playing him. But $600 cheaper than that, kind of intriguing. So I'd rather go with someone a little bit safer, but this is a price point that I have ended up in a ton. I kind of went with a little riskier play and went with Luke List instead, or try to rebuild slightly to go down to that lower 8K range, but I get it as a play. I can't talk you out of it. So Taylor Gooch, I do like. Seb Straka, I am fading. I feel worried about fading Seb Straka this week. Really worried. Russell Knox, I do like Russell Knox. Not playing him, though. I want to see him play well. He's typically a good fall golfer. All right, guys, so that is it. I got to wrap up here, going on 31 minutes. So had a fun live stream. Loved all the chatter in here. Let's keep this growing. Let's keep it going, because I know the fall golf, a lot of less people come or don't come to the videos because they're focused on football. So I like the chat group that we got going. So let's keep that going next week. It's always fun.